On Saturday of Holy Week, Jesus' body lay in a tomb owned by a man named Joseph of Arimathea. In the last hours of Friday, this man Joseph, who was a member of the Sanhedrin, but a secret disciple of Jesus, asked Pilate for permission to take Jesus' body off of the cross, and the Roman governor granted his wish. Joseph had been joined by a man named Nicodemus, who had met Jesus secretly at night earlier in his ministry. He was curious about Jesus, but seemingly curiosity turned to faith, with Nicodemus bringing 75 pounds of myrrh and aloes to wrap the body of Jesus in. Both these men had taken a tremendous risk to make this ask, and ultimately carrying the body of Jesus and placing it in this tomb. On Saturday, though, Jesus' dead body lay in the tomb. The chief priests and Pharisees were still anxious, though. The words they had heard Jesus say previously were haunting them. Jesus had said in their hearing that after 3 days that he would rise again. And so they went to Pilate and asked if he would put a guard around the tomb so that the disciples wouldn't come and steal the body of Jesus and deceive the world, telling him that he in fact had risen from the dead. Pilate consented and placed a guard around the tomb, asking them to make it as secure as they knew how, and they put a seal on the tomb. As the guards stood by the tomb on this Saturday, his body lay inside of it, but his soul had departed. Jesus had experienced the fullness of death. He had descended to the place of the dead. 1 Peter 3:19-20 says that Jesus, after being made alive in the Spirit, he went and made proclamation to the imprisoned spirits, to those who were disobedient long ago when God waited patiently in the days of Noah while the ark was being built. Now, this is a bewildering passage that is debated to this day. But what I think happened here is that Jesus descended to Hades, the place of the dead, and in making proclamation to the imprisoned spirits, he was proclaiming his victory. While Jesus' body lay silent in the tomb on Saturday, he was loudly rubbing his victory in the face of his enemies. The world thought that Jesus had lost. Satan thought that he had won. But that was because the world and Satan failed to understand and believe Jesus' words he repeated throughout his ministry. When Jesus said that the temple would be torn down and rebuilt in 3 days, he wasn't speaking of the building in Jerusalem. He was speaking of himself, the true temple of the living God. His body would be destroyed, but it would be rebuilt in perfection on the 3rd day through resurrection. On a handful of occasions, Jesus had said that he would be crucified and raised on the 3rd day. His disciples had heard it, the Jewish leaders had heard it, Satan and his demons had heard it. But no one could believe this to be true, and no one could comprehend or believe that death could lead to victory. In descending to the dead, Jesus declared that his words were true, and they would see the truth of the words in completion the next day when he walked out of the tomb in his resurrected body. On this Saturday, be reminded, when everything seems silent on earth, that Jesus was loudly proclaiming the victory of tomorrow. And in our lives, when things seem like a devastating defeat, we, like Christ, have the ability to proclaim loudly the victory of tomorrow. Again, I encourage you to go read the passages in the description below, and I'm excited that tomorrow we wrap up Holy Week with the resurrection of Jesus Christ on Easter.